Today, we know that God has been changing lives at Tuscarora for 50 years, and He has used people every step of the way. The inspirational example set by the men and women who initially envisioned this ministry has resonated through the decades. Each year, we see new people join the Tuscarora family, but more importantly, we see new hearts coming to know the Lord.
So it has been a difficult stretch these past few years, and I need to continue to remind myself what a great blessing it is to be able to serve at a place where really my life was changed. I was a camper here. I came to junior week, teen week, winter week, and grew up at Tuscarora. But it was here also that I made my personal commitment to Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
I think about the ministry here, how it's affected us. I mean, I see in retrospect decades of my involvement where God has just held the hand and worked through just every step of the way. You see the divine resources and all the human needs that got met here, people that got saved, marriages that got healed, spirits refreshed.
I've gotten to see Tuscarora from so many different perspectives, from living on campus as a kid to then, attending camp, to becoming a camp counselor, working with the youth, sending my kids here, working here on staff myself in some capacity, and just loving every minute of really everything.
Tuscarora taught me how to work hard and see service as that family business of we go and we pick up the trash, even if my friends are trying to distract me or doing something else. There's something important being built here.
There's just so many wonderful things up here, and you can be assured that you have a wholesome, fun, in-depth renewal experience with virtually every visit to Tuscarora.
I have such great memories. I came here, was raised here as a teenager and during the most formative years probably of one's life, when you think that you shape your worldview and the way you see yourself because of how you've been treated as a teenager, and I think I'm one of the luckiest.
The charge for any person in leadership is to look for not the present or the status quo, but to always be looking with maybe an eye and a half into the future, and the other half eye to stay where you are.
So in preparing for this 50th anniversary celebration, we've had conversations with the children of former board members and some of the founders of the ministry, and one of the things we always ask is, could they ever have imagined the size and the scope and the significance of the ministry of Tuscarora the way it is today? Could they have envisioned that?
No way. No way. I don't think anyone on that board had a far enough vision or a big enough dream that could possibly imagine all that God has done at this place.
I don't think anybody could imagine how it's grown from a beautiful place with very modest buildings just around the loop by the pool. That was it, to all the buildings that we have now. And that is who would have thunk it?
As I look back at it, you look back and you see, how we ever got all this stuff done. I couldn't figure out, so I stopped trying.
50 years from now, in 2072, I hope that they're looking back at us wondering if we could ever envision what God was going to do in the second 50 years of Tuscarora, the number of lives He was going to work in, the size, scope, and significance of the ministry in 50 years.
Now Tuscarora turns its focus to the future. With visions for new ministries, Tuscarora must strengthen the foundations it stands on by creating meaningful meeting spaces, comfortable guest rooms, and safe and fun recreational experiences so men, women, children, and families can continue to be transformed through worship, teaching, counseling, and physical refreshment on the grounds of Tuscarora. Just as the men and women of the past believed the ministry of Tuscarora was necessary, we know that the men and women of today believe in the future.
I would hope that one of the things for Tuscarora that would really be a continual, right from my dad when he began, is to reach out to young people and have a place for young people to come.
Between the winter weekends, the
junior weeks, the teen weeks, the summer staff programs. It's to help them build their foundation, and also for those who don't know Christ, for them to hear the gospel for the first time.
But I don't think the central message will ever change, that, it's about Jesus. And now as we look to the next 50 years, he's got it.
I think he's just going to use this place to proclaim his name, to proclaim his love, to teach, to renew, to give rest and peace. There is so much potential of what the Lord can use Tuscarora for, and I'm just praying that he does that and so much more than I can think about.
You always want to say you want to see the ministry growing, and that sounds good, but it's not only growing, it's the effect that the ministry has on people who come here. And of course, then as the people come and get saved, it does grow.
I remember adopting a phrase, a definition of ministry from Warren Wiersbe, Bible teacher and pastor. And he said, ministry takes place when divine resources meet human needs through loving channels to the glory of God. You've got all the ingredients here for that definition to be realized of ministry. You see that can happen here for the next 50 years and even beyond, for as long as the Lord would tarry. And so I think they're very exciting years to come.
Well, like the original board members, who I don't really think had a clue that we would be here 50 years later with so many wonderful additions and changes to both the facilities and the ministry itself. I don't know exactly what God has planned for Tuscarora. I just think it's really, really big.
The ministry of Tuscarora has been such a blessing to everybody. We need to continue to move ahead so we can reach more people for more blessing.
No, I can only say that the 30 years that I was here was the most wonderful years that I can imagine. And, there was a lot of heartache at the time. But, that gets lost in what we do. And I'm just pleased that Tuscarora continues on.
As I reflect back on stories I hear about Tuscarora, I'm reminded of how this was a new adventure, this idea of planting a Bible camp for the Church of Lutheran Brethren Eastern District. And people were excited about it and responded. People came, they volunteered, they gave of their time, their financial resources, their talents to come and do whatever needed to be done. And I think, quite frankly, I just pray for the future that we live today with those same challenges, that we live thinking about Tuscarora as this great new adventure, this great adventure in ministry, and respond to it with our time and our treasure and our talents.
This is the story God is telling through Tuscarora, the story of ordinary people serving an extraordinary God. The story of people joyfully working over 50 years to serve the Christian community and provide opportunities for worship, teaching, counseling, and refreshment. We invite you to be a part of this story as we seek to give God the glory for great things he hath done.